In the quiet village of Akanmu, the sun always rose with the smell of roasted corn, laughter of children, and the sound of pesos todding yam in mortar. Akanmu was a place where everyone knew everyone and everyone's business. Among the market women, one name stood out like a sore thumb: Mama Ego. Her real name was Ego Uche, but people called her Mama Ego because she loved money more than she loved air. If coins could talk, Mama Ego's own would have begged for freedom. She lived in a small mud house, painted with faded blue, near the big mango tree by the stream. Every morning she opened her stall at the market, the one filled with rice, beans, groundnut oil, and smoked fish. But she never smiled unless someone was counting money into her hands. While other women at the market shared jokes, lent each other cups of rice, or offered roasted plantain to passers-by, Mama Ego kept her goods close and her mouth tight. She was famous for saying, "Person wey dey give, na person wey go die poor." I no fit waste my sweat for another man, even when her neighbor's child was sick and they came to ask her for a small measure of beans to cook. Mama Ego hissed and said, "If your child hungry, go farm. Now hunger they teach people sense." That day, even the groundnut sellers shook their heads, a tale of greed. Mama Ego's stinginess was not limited to food. One time, her younger sister, Ngozi, came from the next village to stay a few days. Ngozi was cheerful and generous. She shared food with the children, fetched water for old women, and helped wash the church benches. Everyone loved her, except Mama Ego. On the first evening, Ngozi said, "Sister, let's cook something nice for the neighbors. They have been so kind." Mama Ego widened her eyes as if Ngozi had suggested burning money. "Greater than cook for who? Are they the ones paying for my rice? Do they add to my profit?" That night, the only thing they cooked was a tiny pot of gari soaked in lukewarm water. Ngozi went to bed hungry and shocked. When she returned to her village, she told her mother, "Mama Ego has gold in her hands but stone in her heart." The Festival of Plenty. Every year, Akanmu held a great celebration called the Festival of Plenty, a time when people cooked large pots of food, danced in the square, and gave freely to strangers. It was said that the god of the land blessed anyone who shared during the festival. But Mama Ego had her own plan. Instead of cooking, she closed her door and sat inside, hugging her money bag. She told herself, "Fools, they waste food for people we no go give 'em back. Me, I go enjoy my own food alone." That evening, when everyone gathered at the square, Mama Ego lit her lantern, brought out a small pot, and made a secret meal of jollof rice and fried fish for herself. But as she sat to eat, she heard a knock on the door. "Greater than, Mama Ego, abeg, give me small water," said a soft, tired voice. She frowned. "Greater than, who be that?" When she opened the door, she saw a stranger, an old woman with a bent back and a walking stick. Her wrapper was torn and her feet were dusty from travel. "Mama, abeg, I never chop since morning," the old woman said weakly. "Even if not small rice, help me." Mama Ego hissed. "Greater than, old woman, abeg gomot. I no get enough even for myself. You know see say food cost?" She slammed the door, muttering, "Greater than, I no go suffer to make food finish on one beggar." Less than inside. She continued eating, but every spoonful suddenly tasted like ashes. The strange visitor. Later that night, when she tried to sleep, she heard a sound, skr, skr, like someone dragging feet outside. She peeked through her window but saw nothing. Then she felt her money bag move on its own. At first, she thought she was dreaming, but when she reached for it, the bag wriggled, slipped off the shelf, and fell to the floor. Coins rolled out, spinning around her feet like mischievous spirits. She screamed, "Chiem! Oh, who dey here?" The lantern flickered. In the dim light, she saw the old woman from before standing in the corner of her room. "You shut your door to a hungry stranger," the woman said in a deep voice, "and shut your blessings with it." Mama Eagle fell on her knees. "I beg, forgive me. I know no say na you." The old woman smiled sadly. "Greater than, I am no beggar. I am a messenger of the earth goddess. And the goddess hates stinginess." She tapped her stick 3 times. "Talk, talk, talk." Immediately, the money bag burst open, and instead of coins, tiny crickets flew out, chirping loudly. "From now on," the old woman said, "you will eat but never be satisfied. You will count money, but it will vanish before morning." Before Mama Eagle could speak, the old woman disappeared into thin air. The curse of emptiness. From that day, things began to go wrong for Mama Eagle. Her rice sacks tore open mysteriously. Her oil containers leaked, and the rats in her store became bold enough to dance in daylight. Customers stopped coming. Even those who owed her money vanished. When she tried to cook, the food spoiled before she could taste it. At first, she thought it was bad luck. But as days passed, hunger became her shadow. She swallowed her pride and went to the market women for help. "I beg, give me small Gary. I go pay next week." They looked at her with pity, but also a memory. "Ah, Mama Ego, when our children hungry, you tell us to go farm. Now you dey farm hunger," said Mama Titi, shaking her head. Mama Ego returned home, her stomach growling like thunder. That night, she dreamt again of the old woman who said, "Until you learn to share, you will never have enough." The lesson of the widow. One afternoon, as she sat crying in front of her house, a group of children passed by, laughing. They carried small bowls of pounded yam and soup from the festival leftovers. One of them, a small girl named Adaora, stopped and looked at her. "Greater than, Mama Eagle, you know chop." Mama Eagle forced a smile. "Greater than, no worry my pikin. Are they okay?" Adaora looked at her bowl, then looked back at Mama Eagle's thin frame. She quietly spooned half of her food into another small bowl and handed it to her. "Greater than, Mama Eagle take. My mama say make we share always. When you give, God go give you more." Mama Eagle's eyes filled with tears. She took the food slowly, unable to speak. That was the sweetest meal she had eaten in years. The next morning, she woke with a light heart. For the first time, she decided to cook for others. She went to her neighbor, Mama Titi, and said, "I beg, borrow me small rice and oil. I won't cook for the children." At first, they didn't believe her. But when the aroma of fried stew filled the air and Mama Eagle was seen dishing out food for the children, everyone came to watch. "Is this Mama Eagle or her ghost?" someone joked. She smiled and said, "If ghost they give food, na better ghost." That day, she shared until the pot was empty, but her heart was full. Ere the return of the old woman. That night, as she swept her compound, she saw a shadow near the mango tree. The same old woman stood there, smiling. "So, you have learned?" Mama Eagle bowed. "Greater than, yes, Mama. Hunger teach me what plenty cannot." The woman nodded. "Greater than, the earth blesses open hands. Closed fists hold only dust." She tapped her stick once, and a warm breeze blew through the air. When Mama Eagle woke the next morning, her empty store was suddenly filled again. Sacks of rice, beans, palm oil, and fish stacked neatly like before. From then on, she became one of the most generous women in Akanmu. She shared food with travelers, lent goods without interest, and sponsored children in school. The villagers began to call her Mama Nosy, saying she brought blessings wherever she went. Years later, years passed, and Mama Eagle became old and respected. During every festival of plenty, she cooked the largest pot of jollof rice and stood at the square, serving everyone, especially strangers. One year, as she served food, she saw a familiar face among the crowd. The old woman again, smiling silently from afar. When Mama Ego blinked, the woman vanished, leaving behind a small calabash filled with cowries, a symbol of eternal blessing. The moral of the story: when Mama Ego died years later, the people of Akanmu said she was no longer stingy. She had fed half the village before her time ended. Until today, whenever someone in Akanmu tries to hoard or act stingy, the elders say, "Remember Mama Ego, the woman who learned that wealth grows when shared." Moral lessons 1. Generosity multiplies the blessings. When you give, you open your hands for more. 2. Stinginess brings loneliness and loss. 3. A kind heart feeds the soul more than food fills the stomach. 4. No one is too poor to give and no one is too rich to receive.